So we are live, I guess. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are live. This is our third episode. In the first one, we had a public sector expert and a private sector now, Ashwini Lohani. Then we had a doctor. I called it doctor with a heart, Bajrang Soni. And as we are progressing, now we have Bijaylaxmi Nanda, Professor Bijaylaxmi Nanda. She is the principal of Miranda House. And I knew her for quite some time when she was younger, um, younger than now. She's still young. Then she was launching a very important campaign against female feticide in India. And apart from being an academician, she is also an author and a gender and human rights expert and supporter. And she has written books on environment as well as human rights and some others. We'll ask her as we progress. Um, he has connectivity issue, I guess. In the meanwhile, yeah, I'll continue telling you about her. It was it was a decade away, almost 10 years back. Dr. Vijayalakshmi was in the same channel. You can search out later with us, speaking about a lot of things. There was it wasn't a live show; it was a recorded show, so you can see those things. You will get an idea about how important certain thoughts and people are. And without saying anything further, now I will request Vijayalakshmi, you are most welcome to our show, and please tell us something about your journey so far, your education, your um, residences, and now what you do.
Thank you, sir. It's really indeed a privilege to be part of your show. And this is 10 years. 10 years back, when I had initiated a campaign against female feticide, it was called then. And later on, we called it pre birth elimination of females, when we were looking at declining child sex ratio and the value of the girl child. In 10 years' time, a lot has changed. The government itself has a flagship program called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So we are indeed very happy that this campaign has finally found its way into the advocacy documents, and we will hopefully see. We are seeing some changes, major changes in 10 years. So I have been associated with that. I teach in Miranda House political science, and I work on the issues of political theory, human rights, gender, environment. And I was vice principal of the college in 2018. Later on, I am the principal right now in the college for the last from 2019 onwards. So this has been my journey. I'm a political science teacher, researcher, and I write mostly on human rights, gender, environment, social inequality. My focus is women and girl child, and I also had the campaign. So in 10 years' time, you have kept up your interest in keeping these conversations going, especially dedicated to women and girl child. I must say that is quite an inspiration.
Oh, thank you. That we do it just a lip service, but you guys do the real thing on the battleground, as we say, both in educating people and both in trying to mentor your young students who become the responsive citizen of our society. For the purpose of language of this talk show, we can use either Hindi or English, both. Um, some of it will be in English, so that our international viewers may find it easy instead of reading the automatic translation by YouTube later. But we can also switch over to Hindi as it comes. Sometimes, talking in your own language, your mother tongue may not be Hindi, but ours is. So it comes in
नहीं
reflex
सर,
sometimes.
हिंदी में भी बिल्कुल बातचीत करेंगे। आप पूछेंगे तो हम हिंदी में बोलेंगे, जब आप इंग्लिश में पूछेंगे तो इंग्लिश में बोलेंगे, और ये दोनों भाषाओं में तो बात हो ही सकती है।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। सो आपने अपनी एजुकेशन के बारे में नहीं बताया कि आपने कहाँ से पढ़ा।
हाँ, तो वैसे तो मैं उड़ीसा में पढ़ी हूँ, और उत्कल यूनिवर्सिटी से मास्टर्स किया। उसके बाद में दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में एमफिल, और जेएनयू सेंटर फॉर पॉलिटिकल स्टडीज से पीएचडी किया है मैंने। तो ये मेरे बेसिक जो डिग्रीज है ये इन्हीं यूनिवर्सिटीज से है। और उसके बाद तो मैं यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मिरांडा हाउस में लास्ट 31 ईयर्स से पढ़ा रही हूँ। तो एक कुछ ये भी कह सकते हैं कि माय एजुकेशन हैज आल्सो बीन इन मिरांडा हाउस, बिकॉज आई स्टार्टेड एज अ वेरी यंग टीचर हियर। सो मैंने कॉलेज से और स्टूडेंट से भी बहुत कुछ सीखा है।
और यस, स्टूडेंट से तो वाकई में सभी लोग सीखते हैं। हमारा पुराने उसमें नीति श्लोक में भी लोग कहते हैं, बालादपि सुभाषितम ग्राह्यम, बच्चों से भी अच्छी बात ग्रहण करनी चाहिए, ग्रहण करने योग्य होती है।
बिल्कुल।
तो बढ़िया आपका। तो वैसे बहुत लोग, कम लोगों को मौका मिलता है जिनको कि पहले जहाँ पढ़े होते हैं फिर वहीं वापस आके पढ़ाते हैं, फिर उसी के सर्वे सर्वा प्रिंसिपल हो जाते हैं। सो कैसा लगता है आपको ये जर्नी, मिरांडा हाउस, फ्रॉम वन पोजीशन टू अनदर वन? एक एंटोनियो
हाँ
ग्राम्स्की हुआ
सर।
करते थे, पोस्ट वॉर फिलोसोफर। सो ही यूज्ड टू से एवरीथिंग इन लाइफ इज अ वॉर ऑफ पोजीशन, depends from which side of the which position you are fighting your war from. So what is the difference in approach, apart from of course the being a student and being a pedagogist? So kaisa, what kind of
But I have not been a student of Miranda House. I meant to say that as a teacher, I learned from my students. But yes, I have been a young teacher in the college. And when I was a teacher, I used to think that in the principal's office, not much is happening. Everything is happening in the classroom. We teachers are doing everything. It is only when I turned to administration, I realized there is a lot to be done here also. And then I realized that how perspective changes. We used to feel that the authorities have all the power, so they will be able to implement things on the ground. I realized that leadership is also about following, about learning. And it is a democratic decentralization process. I have worked only through committees. I am from, so I work through committees. I listen to people. I have literally worn all the shoes there that there is in the college. तो एक समझ तो है, ग्रास रूट लेवल की समझ है। बट यस, एक चीज मैंने ये सीखा कि यू हैव टू ब्रिंग इन एवरीवन, और थोड़ा असर्टिव होना भी जरूरी होगा, बिकॉज यू हैव टू टेक द मेजर डिसीजंस। बट सिंस मिरांडा हाउस इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ द दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी अम्ब्रेला सिस्टम, हमें वहां से यूनिवर्सिटी से भी गाइडेंस मिलता है। सो वी हैव अ वेरी very important team in University of Delhi, including our honorable vice chancellor, dean of colleges, registrar, वो लोग भी गाइड करते हैं। मिरांडा हाउस इज अ यूजीसी, कंप्लीटली यूजीसी मेंटेन्ड कॉलेज। सो यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ दिल्ली में उनका वो गाइडेंस हमारे लिए भी अच्छा रहता है। So it's been a very, I must say, very productive learning experience and learning curve. सो आई हैवंट हैड द टाइम टू गेट बोर्ड। सो ये तो है, बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला। चैलेंजेस के थ्रू भी बहुत कुछ सीखा मैंने। बट आई एम अवेयर दैट यू आर एज पावरफुल और यू आर एज गुड एज योर टीम। सो आई बिलीव दैट्स इम्पोर्टेंट।
श्योर। आपने बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट मुझे की वर्ड्स दे दिए, लर्निंग एंड एक्सपीरियंसेस। ये तो आपके हो गए मिरांडा हाउस के और टीचिंग के और पॉलिसी पर्सपेक्टिव के। Society, as you know, within this society where we are living, from your childhood till now, particularly from the gender responsive society perspective, उसमें आपकी क्या learnings and experiences रहे? Where were we? आज कहाँ हैं? कल हमको कहाँ जाना चाहिए?
Yes.
So I would, our viewers would like to hear from you and get the useful tips and some do's and don'ts, maybe. Thank
Right,
you.
sir. So actually, I was born in Odisha, and we were three daughters. And with my parents brought us up as equals. However, जो larger society है उसमें questions होते थे. Oh, you have no brothers, and my mother had to receive some kind of comments about it. So right from childhood, I got a sense about the discrimination that is there about boys and girls and in families especially. Societal understanding इस पे है कि एक बेटा होना जरूरी है. तो ये समझ बनी थी, not from my immediate family, but my parents were very very gender equal in the way they brought us up. But larger society say I could sense that feeling. But later on, as I grew up, Orissa, that way I did not face any other issues except for this composition of family. But later on, as I grew up, issues around, let's say, sexual harassment or the roles of women, ki kya karna chahiye, girls should learn how to cook, or all of those were there. I'm 56 years now, so that was there in the past. After coming here to Delhi in Miranda House, I realized that क्योंकि यहाँ पे पूरे भारत से लोग आते हैं, तो बहुत सारी चीजें थी that one learned about diversity, about resilience, about women's leadership. There were different stories. Discrimination is one part of the story, but वो भी stories थे how people struggled, they were able to succeed. And उस दौरान मेरी I met a number of women who were survivors of violence, and उनसे भी काफी मैंने सीखा. So I must say the journey has been very learning from women, their own struggles, how they were able to overcome. Things have changed to a large degree, in terms of, let's say, societal thinking around girls and women. Dowry still continues to be a problem, and high spending on marriages is also a problem. However, education of girls and women has increased to a large extent, or women have also started coming forward to work as in startups, or they are getting into STEM education, and government has made a number of policies and programs to support them. So there is, in terms of legal implementation policies and programs, we are much ahead from many countries. अब एक societal readiness बहुत जरूरी है. और क्योंकि मैं हरियाणा और यूपी में कुछ काम की हूँ अराउंड डिक्लाइनिंग चाइल्ड सेक्स रेशियो, आई थॉट द सोसाइटी इज नाउ रेडी कि गर्ल्स को वो पढ़ाना चाहते हैं. But other forms of discrimination continues in certain areas, and that needs to be curbed, that needs to be looked at. But I must say that there has been progress in on many fronts. So वो जो कहते हैं ना, there is a sense of hope also.
Yes, hope is very important thing in life. Um, the facilitation of both gender rights and gender development, gender empowerment has been there for quite some time. There have been lip sympathies, there have been concerted efforts by individuals and organizations, governments also. But still, things remain a bit hazy, because everyone knows that the uh, being a girl or a woman has a lot of disadvantages in the Indian society. Whatever uh, we might quote some verses that where women are worshipped, there the gods live. So gods do live, but women are worshipped only in the form of the deities and all that. I haven't really seen a level playing atmosphere for women here. So, what is doable? I mean, as everybody talks that it should be done, what this should be done, that should be, but what is doable by the government? What is doable by the families, and what is doable by the individuals?
Sir, in terms of government policies and programs, there's a huge improvement. And I wouldn't just call it lip service, because the policies and programs are reaching out. And abhi aap Department of Science and Technology ke taraf se, there are many programs I have noticed where they have looked at, even looking at women who have left mid-career, and to give them some kind of a training around patents so that they can join the workforce. So, in terms of government policies and programs, I do see a lot of commitment. But when it comes to women, they are also having aspirations. But I feel it could also be a larger context of discrimination, which has to do with the distribution of resources. तो जहाँ पे resources कम हैं, वहाँ पे उनको लगता है कि let us spend a little more on the son, because there is still this association that the son will take care of the family. But it is not as if women and girls are not taking care of families. In fact, they are contributing more. तो ये एक point है जहाँ पे हमें focus करना है, and we should get more security for old age, so that parents are not dependent on children only, and they have their own security, so that again wo son preference, it'll be brought down. Other than that, I feel it is important that not just old age security, but looking at women in their old age, because we keep thinking of women only in certain age group, reproductive and child. So but going beyond that, old age, how can we provide greater support to women? Violence against older women is also very high, even from their own children, and that is not discussed enough. Or women end up doing a lot of caregiving work, taking care of the elderly, taking care of children. तो वहां पे किस तरह का सपोर्ट मैकेनिज्म्स फिक्स हो सकता है? Then when it comes to division of labor inside the home, how men can equally contribute, ये जो थोड़ा सा एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग अराउंड roles or masculinity, how that can be curbed. But this is not to say that they cannot play complementary roles. They can play complementary roles, and sometimes they do. So ये एक understanding मुझे लगता है कि हर level पे develop करना है. The other point that is necessary is this spending on marriages. I feel we have not paid enough attention to it. पहले डाउरी पे बहुत डिस्कशन होता है, लेकिन जिस तरह का एस्पिरेशन हो रहा है ना फॉर वेडिंग्स, the amount of spending, the various programs, and even women and girls are a part of this. They want that money to be spent on themselves. So इसके बारे में discussion करना, this kind of an aspiration to have huge weddings, huge spending on weddings, I mean, it has to be curbed, because it is leading to an aspirational thing for everyone, even for middle class or lower middle class or the poorest of the poor. And this is resulting in a huge liability for families. So I feel we need to discuss that more simple marriages or community practices. So I mean, our marriages, our parents hardly spend anything. I'm sure that is the same with your own marriage. तो उस तरह के सिंपल मैरिजेस, एक ओट टेकिंग अराउंड दैट, इक्वल मैरिजेस, इस पे भी फोकस करना बहुत जरूरी है इन इंडिया. And that would result in changing this kind of an understanding that women are liabilities. Beyond that, I think opportunities are opening up for women, and they must make you know they must make great of these opportunities. Whatever challenges are there at institutional level, every institution should be committed, and they are committed. So, I mean, all in all, this understanding has to be there both in women and men. It is not to say that all women or all women are equally, sensitive to women's needs or girls' needs. And some men may be more sensitive. So we need to have empowered women and men to support anybody who is discriminated, whether it is men, boys, or other genders.
Yes, not all people are well meaning. In fact, in the West, there was a time when the girls and women used to hate those who call themselves feminists. They say, what is feminism? We can look after ourselves. You do your job, you mend yourself. That is your role. Don't try to enter into our territory without actually uh, thinking of making the world better for us. So, Vijay Lakshmi ji, now I ask you, I know you'll be very conservative and mild in saying so. I am now trying my viewers to understand your contributions so far. One of them, I know, a very forceful work of yours is the campaign you launched against the female feticide, and there may have been many more. So, what kind of support you got, and what was your contribution, and what you wanted, whether those results Of course, there is never a perfect world, but to what extent you think the society has benefited, and society should do more on that? And apart from this, anything else? I know you may have done many more things. Your books we'll talk about later.
Yes, sir. Sir, in terms of the campaign, even before the campaign, I was associated with one of my colleagues in Miranda House. We started a program called Stop Trafficking Oppression of Women and Girls, where we looked at human trafficking. And we looked at the South Asian region, mainly Nepal and Bangladesh. So, my first work on gender activism or some kind of a research around gender started with that, and with this colleague and her program found that that particular you can call it a movement or a campaign. And in that, while we studied it, we realized that lots of young girls were being trafficked into India and even outside India for mainly commercial sexual exploitation. And the program used to work in rescuing them, repatriating them, and reintegrating them. We also worked with training some of them for different occupations. And from those young girls, I understood how resilient they are, and they had suffered miserably in commercial sexual exploitation. And that was the most painful thing. But I also learned from them about survival, about how to get back on your feet. So that was a huge learning. And we work with various organizations like Mighty Nepal in Nepal, and Bangladesh National Women's Lawyers Association in Bangladesh. And there were many organizations also in India. तो ये एक मेरी फर्स्ट लर्निंग थी. एंड आई हैड डन अ रिसर्च विद दिस पर्टिकुलर organization and also UNDP called looking at vulnerability of young girls and women due to trafficking to HIV/AIDS. So I was looking at health. So my focus was on health and what kind of safe behavior can be done and how migration makes you vulnerable to trafficking. So that was a huge kind of learning experience. And in that, I feel that I would call it my contribution. That also my learning that we were able to make have many dialogues and conversations by bringing those young girls and women into the conversation table. तो उनकी आवाज, उन्होंने खुद अपनी कहानी बताई. जैसे 13 साल में उनको कोई वहां से कोई विलेज से नेपाल से उठा के ले आए, फिर उनके साथ क्या क्या हुआ. सो we were able to bring them to the table. So that was a huge learning for me. After which I started my campaign against pre-birth elimination of females. And in that campaign, I met many women who had been forced by their families for sex determination, for bringing about sex selective abortion, whose families abandoned them because they had daughters. तो वो भी एक लर्निंग कर्व था. उसमें फिर हम वी वर्क अ लॉट विद गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज, we work with non-governmental organizations, and in fact towards the end we had created a platform of action where Miranda House students were also involved, where we made a set of recommendations. And then we had gone to the secretary, then to the government of India, which was the women and child development, and he had taken those recommendations with him along with many other. And after which we saw the flagship program Beti Bachao Beti Padhao, which had many of those recommendations reflected in it. I mean, there is nothing on paper to say that it went from there, but I feel that that is how it is. That you keep saying these things, and somewhere somebody hears it. So if you look at the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao campaign, it is an improvement on all the other campaigns that were there. And once that has happened, and there has been a focus in implementing the law against this issue. So, and I believe some of the recent reports are showing a turnaround in sex ratio in the areas where Beti Bachao Beti Padhao has been very active. But there are other areas where declining child sex ratio is there. So we need to again refocus on it, look at the value of the girl child. And we have to look at how the small child, the small family norm has to be about gender equality, that whether it is a boy or a girl, they get the same kind of sensitive education, same values. So even if you bring up a boy child well, and you are not eliminating that which you regard as disposable, and you create this equal family, even then it would have been a great service to society. So I feel by being part of these conversations, we were able to change some things. And by being part of Miranda House, by being part of the Women's Development Cell, having conversations with young women on sexual abuse, on violence against women, I feel one has contributed to bringing about more equal and enabling spaces, and also contributed to women's leadership. Because these are obstacles, these are the challenges. When you remove them, women move forward and they are equals. So it's just that these challenges have to be removed. So yes, I think I won't say I did it, but I have been part of creating enabling spaces, and I'm very happy I was able to do that, not just with women and girls, but even with men and boys, and other genders, to be part of equal conversations, creating enabling spaces. And I've also listened to disagreements. I mean, I have been open to disagreements and listening to the other. That has, I think, that has been one of my most, I would call it my strength.
Sure. And let me please allow me to share a secret of your family, which is an open secret to those who know, with a background. You know, normally experts like you, campaigner like you, who work on the field and who are well equipped with facts and figures and case studies and all that, when they go and meet policymakers, they just brush them off like anybody else. They say, no, no, what my file says, my people say that is what is the right path. The secret is Professor Nanda's father was health secretary, and later more healthcare related areas, and others, uncles also health secretary. So, were you trying to educate them or suggest certain measures to them, and were they willing to listen to you, or they just thought it's just a little girl from the family, who cares?
No, no, sir. My father brought us up because my mother passed away very early. So he brought up three daughters. So he was equally sensitized at home. But he is also himself a very progressive person. And when he was census director and also census commissioner, so he was aware of the sex ratio decline much before I was. So I learned some things from him. And so I must say that it could be a learning experience for me to have learned from him and being guided by him. But I think when fathers bring up daughters, they learn a lot in the process. So yes, I must say I'm very very blessed to be his daughter. And but we do disagree, and we do bring in our ideas together. So we have also written together, we have discussed things together, and more or less we are in agreement with the fact that there should be an equal world for everyone.
Sure. And what was the atmosphere in house where there were three girls, and were they discussing these issues of boys and girls? Whether there should be a boy in the house should have been, or do they miss? Did you miss them?
No, I don't think so, sir. I don't think it was ever discussed that way. But my sister is a doctor, so she is the she used to have her own kind of understanding on this issue, which is naturally coming from medical science. And my youngest sister was the person whom we all kind of protected and loved. So I don't think that kind of an issue was ever brought up. But we all agreed that. Uh, I mean, it's sorry when there are three daughters in the house and a father is bringing them up. I don't think the father has much to say in that situation, so he had to listen to us.
Okay, great. So the
We were
there
very
is,
empowered daughters. We were
yes.
empowered daughters.
Yes, I
Yes.
was about to make a one-liner on that. The clarity begins at home, not just the charity. So,
So I also have only one daughter, so that's there also. So we
yeah, I
followed
know.
that.
I
Yes.
know, I know. In my previous conversation with you in the same channel, 10 years back, when I asked you the question, "Do you miss having a boy in the house?" You said, "No, there's no problem of males in our house. We have several males, including my dog. I remember that.
Yes,
So,
my pet who passed away recently, sir. He was such a important member of our family. In
yes,
fact,
yes,
my father recovered from cancer because of this relationship, which he was a very, he was a dog who I mean, I would call him a pet who brought a lot of happiness to all of us. He
sure.
died at 17 years, and he brought us such joy.
What kind of feedbacks do you get from your friends, colleagues, or the students about the society and the gender rights?
Sir, these days students are very well informed. They understand their rights very well. They also are very keen on going ahead in life in terms of getting a job. They are aware of that, but some of them face some forms of discrimination. Another area, what I'm getting to know from my students is the area of mental health. A lot of mental health, especially after COVID, because of the kind of problems that they have faced, anxiety, other forms of mental health issues, of stress, this is coming up. So, like you were mentioning earlier, we are very focused on creating happiness, and what is the best way to remain centered, look at, be ambitious, and yet remain balanced. These are concerns that we bring to the young people so that they not only have a healthy body but also a healthy mind. This is our focus right now, and they are looking for opportunities, so we try to create as many opportunities for them. So this is how it is, that you need to link up physical with mental health, then look at removing their challenges, especially if it comes due to their gender, or it could also be gender and class. So we are looking at major scholarships, looking at other forms of opportunities when it comes to, you not everybody can pay and do coaching classes. So how can we give them more counseling, career counseling? So that is how we are trying to link up. As far as my colleagues are concerned, some of them are young mothers, so there's a lot of caregiving at home. Some of them are in my age group, so they have to do elderly care. So I do see that these are also areas which require support when it comes to women, even if they have very very supportive family members, including husbands. uh, Even then, largely caregiving role falls on them. So how can we bring about greater support for them? That is one concern.
Let's ask you another question, which is a lighter one. What are your hobbies?
I do write poetry, and in fact, my last writing was a creative writing. It is a writing between two friends. My best friend Sangeeta is a nurse in New York, and during the COVID we wrote emails to each other, which was describing our life. So this 31 pandemic letters of loss and love is the book that we wrote together. We brought it together, and we it was published by Haranand Publishers. So it's a book that, and it has illustrations and other things which are very much a part of which are done by my spouse. I will share a copy with you. But this book is about an understanding around friendship, female friendship.
Yes, let me tell our viewers that Bijaylaxmi's spouse is a very talented person, a civil servant, a very normal civil servant, earth, feet on the ground, and still can look up to the skies, and a very good cartoonist. He made cartoons in my book for children of rhymes, Bachon Ka Samrajya, long back. So many of my colleagues, children, they have read those once, and now my grandson is reading Bachon Ka Samrajya, and of course I have added two more books for him, Abhinav Bal Geet.
Right, sir.
So can I request you to tell us something about your books you have written, and what do they convey?
So
And
my first two books were written with one of my colleagues. We were then working with the university committee on creating foundation courses. So me and my colleague Professor Sashi Motilal, we wrote on human rights, gender, and environment. The first book was by Allied Publishers. It was a text, and the other one was a edited book called Understanding Social Inequality. Then I took out a book on sex selective abortion, where I looked at various policies, programs, did a critique of that, especially on the issue of the girl child. Then I have written an edited volume again with Rutledge on discourse of rights in India, debates and dilemmas, with one of my younger colleague, Dr. Nupur Roy. And Nupur and I wrote this book, and presently I'm working on a book on decolonizing feminism, where I'm looking at how Indian roots of indigenous feminism can be brought to fore, especially in the ideas of Mirabai, in the ideas of Andal, all our bhakti, saints, and going beyond that to the world of, there are many indigenous roots of Indian feminism which can be brought to the forefront. I mean, whether we would like to call it feminism or not is another question. But there are many women who had also questioned societal norms in India, and that should also be looked into. So it is not as if we got everything handed over to us from a colonial rule. So we are trying to decolonize those concepts.
Yes, and on a lighter side, but सबसे संजीदा बातें हास्य में कही जाती हैं. You have been associated with two institutions, Jawaharlal Nehru University and Miranda House. तो सोसाइटी
Yes.
में नॉर्मली क्या होता है पेट्रियार्की सोसाइटी में कि अगर कोई महिलाएं इफ दे स्टैंड अप टू यू और दे स्पीक अप ऑन देयर राइट्स एंड इफ दे try to promote equal world and stress on equality, so then people view them as a potential threat to patriarchy. तो दिल्ली में लोग अगर कहते हैं कि जेएनयू की और मिरांडा हाउस की लड़कियां बहुत फास्ट हैं, बड़ी मॉडर्न हैं, सॉर्ट ऑफ दैट, जबकि रियलिटी ऑफकोर्स हमको तो पता है. तो आप क्या कहेंगी इस बारे में?
So this understanding is also a stereotype, and it's a prejudice. So like I said, अगर आप मिरांडा में आएंगे तो it is like a microcosm of the macrocosm. There are young girls from all over India, and there is nothing wrong in girls being bold and having leadership qualities. So that is fine. But I think that kind of an understanding is coming from those who feel confronted by women with voices. सो अगर वो गांव में भी जाएंगे ना, महिलाओं की आवाज है, लेकिन इस तरह से इट इज अ सर्टेन प्रिजुडिस that is developed. So those women who speak for themselves are seen as an affront. But I feel that it wouldn't be all right to say that, because har tarah ki, you'll find all kinds of young people everywhere in this country.
Yes, of course. Basically, just to put the
Yes,
things
yes.
in perspective, I
I
needed
also
your
forgot
inputs.
to mention, sir, my last the book of poetry that I hope will be out soon. It's called Of Mothers and Daughters. So these are poems talking about my mother's life, my daughter, and my life. So and are also women like me. So it speaks to women, and it is about all the colors of being a woman and being a girl, and the relationship between women. So I am a great believer of female friendship, and how it keeps makes us survive through difficult times.
She for she.
She for she. Yes, that's a good way to put it.
So some of our viewers have given comments saying बहुत बढ़िया, स्वागत है मैम, very nice, every girl is precious, good evening. और बुबू दी ब्लॉगर हमारे कहते हैं भारतीय नारी सब पर भारी, सुंदर कार्यक्रम. So good, that is thank you for your comments. आपके comments हमारे उसको और आगे बढ़ाते हैं, हमारे अपनी ऑब्जेक्ट्स को, हमारे प्रोग्राम के. So before I ask you your impression about this my new online show, मैं आपसे कुछ ये न्यू सेगमेंट हमने आपसे ही शुरू किया, ऐड किया है. लोग कहते हैं रैपिड फायर क्वेश्चंस, बट आई कॉल देम रिफ्लेक्स responses. So these are very small. I just jotted down. So आपके लिए, what's better, patriarchy, matriarchy और free for all?
Equality.
तो चौथा बता दिया आपने. इन तीन में से?
There is no such thing as free for all. So I think equality. I would say equality.
Okay. Okay. Who is more affectionate and caring for the family in general, boy or a girl?
A girl, it is believed, but if a boy is brought up well and made sensitive, they can all behave equally.
Now, the serious one. What is more heinous a crime? Female feticide, female infanticide, or a rape?
Sir, it is a very, very difficult question. But I would say that infanticide is terrible, and so is rape. Female feticide would be the third. So, in terms of violence, because infanticide is murder, and rape is violative of the dignity of an individual, feticide will come as third.
Next question is who are more harassed lots, working women or homemakers?
So harassment can be at different levels. So how I've been there cannot be any kind of understanding around this. But yes, when women have self-reliance, they may be able to bring about they would be able to struggle and be able to create better opportunities for themselves if they are
I think it's,
working.
I think it's working women because they are harassed in office as well as at home. So they
Yes, but they
do
also
have
have
the
an
account.
opportunity to challenge it, whereas women at home may not have that kind of voice.
Yes.
Their harassment is invisible sometimes.
As principal, who is more on your focus, students or teachers?
Students, they are the center of everything. I don't think anyone else can stand. It is the students who will be the focus. Everything else will be for the students.
And the final one is who should be first, self, family, children, or society?
For sir, when you say self, family, society, and children, who should be
Yes.
first? I think
Yes.
you need to work on yourself. Then only you can be a benefit to the rest of the world. If
Okay.
yourself is not balanced, it's not harmonious, it is always conflicting, you are of no good to anyone.
Thanks. Would you like to share one of your poems with us?
Sir, I don't have anything on me right now. If you, I don't think I have anything. I wish I had remembered
Okay,
to
no
do
problem.
that.
No problem. Somebody has written, Gita Joshi. She says, बहुत सुंदर कार्यक्रम कविता जरूर सुनाइएगा.
So if you, I mean, I could have. If you can give me 1 minute, I will. I can bring my
Yes,
poem here.
please do. In the
Yes.
meanwhile, I will entertain the guests.
Yes.
So, guys, see how down to earth experts can be. You have heard her. If you have missed anything, the recording will be available. And yes, a very intellectually enlightened person and a socially responsible citizen as well as a mentor to young students and teachers. So in many faces of Dr. Bijaylaxmi. Um, yes, please. Now you are ready
Thank
with
you,
any
sir.
random
Thank
at
you, sir.
random, or you can recite too if you so like if you have.
Yes, I will recite it. It's called syncretic feminism, which is like feminism as bhakti, an Indian feminist understanding. The writing on the wall tells it all. Listen to the call. Birth is not the beginning. She reads a book, it takes shape within, a life created. She works in the fields, in the forest, in the mountains, in rivers, in offices and homes, dancing hands in the shade of the sun and in the moonlight. There are many lives in her, born from books, work, thoughts, and leisure, sweat, blood, tears, laughter, and pleasure. Not just mother, daughter, wife, sister, maybe not any of those. She is born of stories of friendship. It is time now. No more waiting. Equality in the Constitution. In your hearts and mind, why does inequality thrive? Let equality rule everywhere. What are we waiting for? Thank you.
Thank you. Another one.
No, sir, I think that should be enough.
Okay, thank you. So there are viewers. Dr. Uma, she says, I agree with equality. And the person who was requesting for the poem, she says, Gita Joshi, Yatha naam tatha gun hai ma'am. Yani, as your name, so are your virtues and
Thank you. Thank you,
persona.
sir.
And we have reached towards the end of it. Last question is, what is your impression about such programs like this one, what we are doing? Is it any worth it, or just a time pass for us and our viewers?
Sir, it's very important to have conversations. I'm a great believer of dialogues, conversations, especially led by a man who has been a leader and a bureaucrat and has also had so many creative pursuits. The fact that you are talking on this matter, people are listening to it. So it doesn't take the shape of something that people can disregard. So I always feel that the more men, especially men who have been leaders, who have been, in fields of leadership, if they keep talking about these issues, it will have a greater impact. And also, you are raising very important concerns around society, and you are also asking us to think. So I must say that it is an important platform. And in the day now, when there is podcasts and people are listening to things, and they are trying to understand from that, it is an important intervention. So I wish you all the best, sir, and we look forward to having you at Miranda House to speak to our students about both your pursuits, your children's literature, your leadership training on bureaucracy, as well as engaging on the science and art of happiness.
I cannot resist asking you a question from a viewer, a former professor of Delhi University. He's saying, intellectually enlightened people can change this society. Unfortunately, such people are very few in numbers. How Madam will respond to this?
Intellectually enlightened people are there in society, but maybe they are not having the time or the energy to engage with the rest of the us. They're imagining that everybody is not intellectual enough to understand. So we must keep those barriers away, and we must learn from you how to have these common day conversations and make it intellectual. I think intellect is, it lies in this, to be able to make the simple, or the more complex simple. The most simple things are the most intellectual. So let us all talk to each other, have creative conversations.
Very well said. And let me share another secret. I don't know whether you like it or not. Dr. Bijaylaxmi, we know her as Busy. From Bijaylaxmi is carved out Busy, so her family name at home is Busy. So, Busy, from your busy time, you spared this time for us and spoke on the variety of things and very important and apt comments and tips to the society and people, individuals. So, we thank you very much for being part of it. And so maybe after another 10 years or so, we'll have you again, or maybe after 5 years. But sure, I'm tempted to invite your sisters someday, or maybe after a year or so, we'll have all three sisters in the panel. Then we'll see what value it can add to our conversation. Thank you very much, and all the best. Good night.
Thank you, sir, and thank you so much for asking me to talk to you. This was a very energizing and stimulating conversation, and it made me also reflect on a few things myself. So I wish you all the best, and we look forward to listening to more such conversations when you have it in your show. I wish your
And
show all the best.
And viewers, don't forget to subscribe our channel CSMS India. CSMS is Center for Social and Management Solutions. So the name of our channel is CSMS India. Here you'll find many more videos on and talk shows in future in the form of recording. So share with us your thoughts through those comments also. And Vijay, uh, I'm sure very soon we'll have a lot of subscribers from Miranda House listening to their principal. Namaskar, good night, uh, Shabba Khair.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you. Thank you.